St. Louis is struggling, and something needs to change.
If we continue to do what we've done for the last 30 years in this region, we're rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
But is that desperate push for economic development moving in the right direction?
We have every bit of evidence that this is going to fail.
The way we shape our economy is critical for all of us because it determines how we provide for our families.
We've been trying to get an interview with you for a couple of months. Can you talk with us?
News 4 investigates how the most powerful people in the region
Mr. Fleming
are selling St. Louis to the world.
You obviously have a hostile agenda.
You just described me as hostile.
Yes, right.
But you can't tell me why.
Right.
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 Okay.
No.
Do you really believe this is the way you should carry yourself as the chief executive of a regional chamber of commerce?
Do you believe that you should just be a hatchet job reporter?
St. Louis has trailed the nation as a whole when it comes to creating jobs. It's been like that for many years. The St. Louis Regional Chamber and Growth Association, our version of a chamber of commerce, is the group typically relied on to sell St. Louis to the world. But at the beginning of the year, when we started looking at the RCGA and how it conducted business, the chamber's top executive decided our questions were hostile and he would have nothing to do with us.
Mr. Fleming, Craig Cheatham, Channel 4.
Greg, how are you? Nice to see you.
For months, this was as close as we could get to Dick Fleming. Our investigation found that he was the highest paid Chamber of Commerce president in the country for the 2-year period of 2008-09, making $1.8 million in salary and deferred compensation during one of the worst recessions in U.S. history. I hoped he would explain the RCGA's mission and how he earned that money, but Fleming repeatedly refused.
Can you explain the mission of the RCGA? Sir? Sir, we've been trying to talk. We've been trying to talk with Mr. Fleming for 2 months. Can we talk with you outside very briefly before this gets started?
Why don't you let me get my thoughts together for a presentation here and do the courtesy of that?
Dick Fleming arrived at the RCGA 17 years ago and has dramatically increased its size and services. But despite that, job growth in the region has been flat for the last 2 decades. And some local leaders told me that the RCGA provided little, if any, help when they needed it.
Fenton Mayor Dennis Hancock says the RCGA was nowhere to be found after Chrysler announced its plan to close the Fenton plant.
Have you heard anything from the RCGA about what could be done to replace Chrysler and how they could help you?
No.
Not in 3 years?
No.
What did you gain from your membership in the RCGA?
I don't know that we gained a lot.
Did you gain anything?
Well, it's hard to put any tangible, point to anything tangible and say this is what we got for our membership.
When it needed to cut the budget, Fenton decided to end its membership in the RCGA. That membership cost only $900 a year.
Seriously, you don't think the RCGA membership is worth $900 a year to the city of Fenton?
We didn't feel that we were getting $900 worth of value out of it, no.
How has the RCGA helped the St. Louis area grow over the last 20 years? You're looking away.
You're going to have to ask that question again.
Is that really that tough of a question?
Well,
Maggie Hales is the Deputy Director of the East-West Gateway Council of Governments, a St. Louis group focusing on economic research and the distribution of federal highway funding. Gateway has 24 board members, 12 elected officials from Missouri, another dozen from Illinois. It would seem that RCGA and Gateway would be logical partners, but Hales says they're not.
some of our Illinois members have not been happy with RCGA's approach, and so that's been a problem. We really need to work together and include Illinois, and I think many of our Illinois members don't feel RCGA has done an effective job at that.
At representing them.
St. Clair County used to contribute $60,000 a year to the RCGA, but County Board Chair Mark Kern says that stopped years ago because county officials couldn't see the chamber's impact on the local economy.
We really couldn't point to any business expansion or new businesses coming in that we could really attribute to what RCGA was doing for us.
St. Clair County, one of the largest and fastest growing in the region, hasn't even been an RCGA member for years. Part of that comes down to the way the chamber spent its money during a terrible economy.
Flat job growth
and you're so disenchanted with the organization that you drop out. You say they had no impact on St. Clair County. And during that period of time, Mr. Fleming is the highest paid chamber president in America. Does that make any sense to you at all?
Well, that's why we got out.
Fleming's critics say there is also a sense of entitlement at the RCGA. In 2009 tax filings, the chamber reported spending nearly $500,000 for office space in a downtown skyscraper and more than $38,000 a year on leased automobiles, like this Infiniti driven by Fleming. After we looked at those records, we requested Fleming's expense reports, but the regional chamber, a private organization, didn't give them to us. They didn't have to. When we approached him after his speech in April, Mr. Fleming walked out a back door. We found him hiding in a service hallway near a stack of plastic milk crates.
Mr. Fleming, why don't you just talk to us?
Because
we've been trying to get an interview with you for 2 months. Here you are hiding in a hallway.
No, I'm waiting for lunch.
We angered him by requesting his expense reports, but Fleming didn't want to talk about anything else either, unless he could insult me personally and professionally.
I am readily available to anyone in the media who wants to do a straight story. You don't do straight stories. You don't think I ever
do
maybe
straight
you have. Maybe you've not. Maybe in your history. Maybe in your history. Maybe in your history. Possibly.
Possibly.
But your antagonistic and belligerent questions
which
were
include
obvious.
What? Which include what?
From 3 months ago, I'm supposed to carry that around in my head.
You just described me as hostile.
Yes, right.
But you can't tell me why.
Right.
Okay.
No.
Even though Fleming refused to discuss the chamber's business, we went to the RCGA website for some answers. It talks over and over again about the group's accomplishments, the lobbying, the marketing campaign, and thousands of jobs credited partly to the group's involvement. It's a story you'd think Dick Fleming would want to share with anyone, even me.
Thank you.
Sir, I don't appreciate being called hostile when clearly I'm just trying to get some questions answered. Mr. Fleming, please, seriously.
Look,
do you really believe this is the way you should carry yourself as the chief executive of a regional chamber of commerce?
Do you believe that you should just be a hatchet job reporter?
I'm not a hatchet job reporter.
Well,
I'm trying to get questions answered that I think are reasonable questions. You've dodged an interview. You've walked in a back hallway of a hotel.
I'm going into a luncheon, which
is this the way you always
interrupt me
I've rudely interrupted.
You have rudely interrupted. I
did not.
Yes, you did.
No, we walked out before you gave your presentation, sir. Can you explain what you've done as president and chief executive to earn the $1.8 million in salary and deferred compensation that you had in 2008 and 2009?
You can run your agenda by yourself, pal. Okay?
PR firms from across the country tell me that they use Fleming's hallway interview as an example of how not to deal with the media. Several months after that incident, Fleming agreed to sit for a series of on-camera interviews, and those conversations will be part of our program. When we come back, why was the Regional Chamber of Commerce against a local effort that almost everyone agreed would be good for St. Louis?